The fallout from the by-elections as the main parties analyse the results. The Labour leader says he's spoken to the London mayor over concerns his environmental car charge cost the party a seat.
We are doing something very wrong if policies put forward by the Labour Party end up on each and every Tory leaflet.
Also tonight, the supermarkets accused of nearly doubling their fuel profit margins. A slow start to the school holidays as thousands of rail workers walk out over pay. And
it is World Cup lift-off for the Lionesses.
Penalty drama for England, but the Lionesses open their World Cup campaign with a win.
DanTV News with Gamal Fahnbulleh.
Good evening. The main political parties are having intense internal debates this weekend, trying to decide the best way to overcome the weaknesses exposed by this week's by-elections. Fault lines have opened in the Labour Party between the leader and the London mayor, with Keir Starmer questioning Sadiq Khan's commitment to an environmental charge blamed for losing the Uxbridge seat. Meanwhile, the Conservatives are desperately seeking a strategy to stop massive swings to opposition parties, as seen in Selby and Somerset. Here's our political correspondent, Shihab Khan.
After 3 by-elections across the country returned 3 MPs from 3 different parties, there are different lessons for everyone to learn. While the result in Selby and Ainsley was a huge success for Labour, overturning a 20,000 vote majority to win the seat, it is the narrow defeat in Uxbridge which has been the party's focus. Boris Johnson's former constituency was held by the Tories by just 500 votes, as Labour's ultra-low emission zone policy in London became the big talking point. Today at Labour's National Policy Forum, Keir Starmer publicly raised concerns.
In an election, policy matters. And we are doing something very wrong if policies put forward by the Labour Party end up on each and every Tory leaflet. We've got to face up to that and to learn the lessons.
And things might change. Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, is understood to be in a constructive listening mode on the issue. Some Tory MPs also think the Uxbridge result has given food for thought for the Prime Minister's future strategy.
It proves that the public are not willing to pay these massively excessive prices for net zero type policies.
So do you think the Prime Minister needs to do anything differently?
I think it's total madness that we're going to ban the traditional petrol diesel vans and cars by 2030 when the rest of the world isn't. I would have thought that is very ripe for a rethink.
The Lib Dems are, however, much more positive with the outcome of the by-election results. They overturned a huge Tory majority in Somerton and Frome and say it's proof the voters are uniting to get the government out.
We're thinking about the communities that we want to represent, and we're thinking about the communities that are telling us that they don't feel they've had the representation they deserve from the Conservatives.
It's a wide range of results, and as campaigning begins for the next set of by-elections, there's plenty to think about. Shihab Khan, ITV News.
An estimated 12 million holiday car journeys are taking place this weekend, with the largest number today as the great summer getaway begins. There have been localised delays and some congestion at ferry ports, but no major problems reported so far. But new research tonight suggests that many of those drivers may have boosted the profits of supermarket petrol retailers. The RAC says supermarket forecourts have nearly doubled their profit margins since the Ukraine war began. Martha Felly reports.
It's been a smooth start to the Great Getaway as millions of holidaymakers head off. But it's come at a cost for those travelling by road. The price of petrol and diesel has been falling over the past few months, but the RAC says Asda, Tesco, Morrisons and Sainsbury's have nearly doubled their profit margins on fuel since the war in Ukraine began. In 2016, the average profit margin on fuel for the Big Four supermarkets stood at 2.3 pence per litre. The year before the Ukraine war began, it was more than double that at 5.9 pence. And so far this year, it's averaged 10.8 pence per litre.
At the moment, as people may well know, the government are giving a 5p a litre fuel duty discount And that means that drivers at the pumps aren't seeing the full benefit of this, which is wrong in a cost of living crisis, which is why we've highlighted it. It's also really important because we know that fuel prices have a big bearing on inflation.
And motorists filling up today believe prices are still too high.
The price of a barrel of oil is a lot less now anyway, so I don't see why petrol pumps are still charging the same prices.
It's much lower. About 1 year ago it was 190, one now. Is it now? 138, it's alright, not too bad.
It's too expensive, but what can we do? We just have to go with it. But it's too much.
Earlier this month, the Energy Secretary Grant Shapps accused fuel companies of using motorists as cash cows. And at a meeting with supermarket bosses this week, he told them to end overpricing at the pumps. They've been asked to join a voluntary price comparison scheme. Asda says despite increased margins in fuel, profits across its business fell to 1.7 pence for every pound, so any suggestion of profiteering would be false. Martha Fairley, ITV News.
Well, there will have been more cars on the roads as a result of another 24-hour rail strike today. As many families begin their holidays, train stations across the country have been all but deserted. Vincent Magavini is at London's King's Cross station. And Vincent, it is normally busier where you are.
Yeah, King's Cross, like stations across the country today, is incredibly quiet. That's after 20,000 RMT union members across 14 rail companies went on strike. It includes LNER, Avanti West Coast, Great Western, where the train managers, the drivers and some station staff have all walked out. Now, this is only a one-day strike, but it's expected there will be knock-ons tomorrow. It is part of this long-running industrial dispute. The unions say that their members need an above-inflation pay rise to deal with the cost of living crisis, but the train companies saying that they need to renegotiate in terms of the conditions and the terms for workers, something unions aren't willing to do. It seems it's still deadlocked. There are more strikes planned next weekend and in August, but for anyone living in or planning to travel to London this week, a bit of good news. The tube strike, which was meant to be 5 days long, has now been called off.
OK, Vincent, thank you. Now, British tourists are among hundreds of people being removed from the path of an out-of-control wildfire in Greece. The blaze has been burning on the island of Rhodes for 5 days. But today, high winds pushed it out of the mountains and towards populated areas. Extreme temperatures have been blamed for rekindling areas that firefighters previously managed to put out. Ukraine has attacked a Russian oil and ammunition depot in Crimea, causing a large explosion. A plume of smoke could be seen rising above the site in Krasnodarsk. And this kiss between members of the British band The 1975 led to their sets being ended early at a Malaysian music festival. The whole festival was later cancelled after lead singer Matt Healy attacked the country's anti-LGBT laws on stage. Now, England's Lionesses have launched their World Cup campaign Down Under with a win. Victory over Haiti in Brisbane was always considered the most likely outcome, but it turned out to be a much more nail-biting experience that many fans and pundits had expected. Amy Lewis has our reports.
The Lionesses launch their latest legacy.
England might have arrived as European champions, but now they want to conquer the world. The contrast in these teams could hardly be greater. England, one of the tournament favourites, were facing Haiti in their first ever World Cup match. But from the early exchanges, it was clear they were going to be tricky opposition. This challenge on Lioness Chloe Kelly led to the video assistant referee being consulted.
My decision is no penalty kick.
But then VAR was consulted again and played a hand in England being awarded a penalty.
But we're at a World Cup now.
Georgia Stanway had scored all 7 of her previous spot kicks.
No, it's a brilliant save.
But the goalkeeper was off her line.
Take 2.
And Stanway had a second chance.
It is World Cup lift-off.
Back home in Croydon, the fans were on their feet and the Lionesses were in the lead. After the break, Haiti carried on causing problems,
Save for Lopes.
but couldn't make it count.
There is the full-time whistle.
So England had clung on to their 1-0 lead.
The first game is just to settle the nerves, you can kind of build momentum, and yeah, it's just kind of nice to get that World Cup feel after watching 2 days.
The Lionesses were expected to win more convincingly, but they are on their way.
I thought that the other team was going to win, but turns out we won anyway, so it was really fun and amazing to watch.
You've got to give respect, Haiti. They played well.
It might not have been the slickest of performances, but the Lionesses hope this is the start of something very special. Amy Lewis, ITV News.
Well done, England. Now, England's male cricketers are battling Australia and the Manchester weather to stay in the Ashes. Play has been called off for the day, with England needing 5 more Australian wickets to keep the series alive. Between the showers, Joe Root removed century maker Marcus Labuschagne. America's Brian Harman is leading golf's Open Championship in Liverpool. Harman is 6 strokes ahead of the field. He's going for his first major title. And Denmark's Jonas Vingegaard has all but confirmed his second successive Tour de France victory. Vingegaard finished 3rd in today's penultimate stage, keeping his yellow jersey lead of almost 7.5 minutes going into tomorrow's final stage to Paris. That is all for the moment. I'll be back with more just before 11. But for now, I do hope you enjoy what is left of your evening. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
First thing today will be lovely and warm, and by breakfast time, it could be on the sunny side. Heinz tomato ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.
A very good evening to you. Cloudy skies, outbreaks of rain for many, blustery winds, all in all very disappointing at any time of year, particularly so through the middle of summer. And that rain extensive to end the day, a soaking as we end Saturday, a little drier for northern Scotland there. And that rain stalls across parts of central Britain and Northern Ireland into the small hours of Sunday. Either side of this, quite blustery into the new day, particularly across the south and the west, and into Sunday. Little let up with that rain across northern England, parts of North Wales and Northern Ireland. Several hours of pouring rain to come. A soaking in many locations, particularly further east with those brisk winds. Elsewhere, brighter skies, occasional sunshine, but hit and miss showers and longer downpours get going. And it stays quite blustery too, particularly across those southern and western counties. Here, quite a mild, muggy feel to the day, highs of 22 or 23 degrees. Further north, a little cooler and a little fresher.
Heinz tomato ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.